freely spilled upon the
My name is Pastor Leo, and this is Phil, and we're having another episode of Faith Fire, a podcast that is brought to you by My Faith News, and we are super excited about being together again. Our hope is, so that you know, is that we're trying to make it a something that you're going to see more and more as we learn the technology and put this stuff together. So I just want to know, how are you doing, Phil?
I'm doing fantastic.
A lot of stuff going on.
Oh, tremendous stuff. Tremendous good stuff
Yeah.
going on. And we see it just accelerating too.
Yeah, the Lord's just doing amazing things in Vermont right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I still always boggles my mind to see the activities that are happening in the state of Vermont.
Yeah.
It's enormous.
It is. It's still got that hometown feel.
Yeah.
But you're just bringing in more and more community.
Mm-hmm.
And you are seeing it just kind of flourish and blossom.
Yeah. So we have actually, as far as I know, there's actually we're starting our new podcast. There's actually a podcast in Southern Vermont. Did you know that?
Oh no. Who's
and
doing that?
It's Pastor Michael Gant.
Okay. Yeah.
He has a podcast out of Brattleboro, Vermont, called. He has a couple different names for it. One is Night Mike.
Okay.
And a couple other ones. Yeah. And we'll make sure that you know about that, because Pastor Michael Gant is a great guy. He's doing a lot of great stuff for the kingdom of God.
Is there a link there from?
I will make sure. I will make sure it is in there. It's
because,
something that I've been wanting to do.
Yeah, because that's where I usually go to. Yeah. If there's an event going on, I go to My Faith News, and then I can find the event. Yeah. I can find sermons. Mm-hmm. It's a huge wealth of information.
He records them up onto like YouTube and Facebook, and so a lot of times I'll grab them.
Yep.
And I'll put them onto our station, because we have, obviously, if you go to My Faith News, you'll see a place where we have broadcasts.
Yep.
Like where you're seeing this probably. So
great.
Anyway, what's going on in Vermont?
Well, you've got the gathering August 24th with Angela.
Yeah, and her husband.
Yep. And that's up Enosburg?
No, that's actually up in it's in Waterville.
Waterville.
Waterville, Vermont, which is a little up there for us.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, not me. I'm
you're closer to Waterville, yeah. Yeah. And that's a gathering that they are doing at their house. On their property. Yeah. They really believe the Lord has made a special place, and she's so excited about it, Angela.
And actually she gives a great sermon. Yeah. I was at one of her sermons last weekend. Yeah. And she did a fantastic job. Right.
I watched
Very informative.
Yeah. She did a great job.
Yeah.
You know. And what a heart she has.
Yes, she does. Yeah. She does. Yeah. And actually I'm going to steal one of her words.
Oh, you are?
Yes. I loved it. I was like, and it is how God lavishes his love on us. And that was fantastic. Yeah. Really good. And I hope that they actually take that and they put it online so other people can view it. I think it might already be there on Facebook.
I think it's on Facebook now, but I would love to see it in different formats so we could repurpose a lot of that stuff.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So we'll get all these churches, because I have a place for sermons on our My Faith News, and there's already sermons there, and I'd love to get more of them.
Yes. So. And that's what I do love, that whole link to the My Faith News, mm-hmm. where you can start to see what the other bodies of Christ are doing and follow along with the events, and we just see more and more things keep coming out of that.
Yeah.
The ideas just keep coming.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we need a second Leo.
If anybody wants to volunteer to help, I'm all.
Well, and actually,
I'm ready. That's where you came from.
Actually, but that's a proper ask right there.
Yeah.
There might be some of the viewers out there that want to help participate and contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And
we need people that would volunteer to report on events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. What would be a best way for them to get a hold of you if they don't? They can
just go to My Faith News and go to the publisher. You'll see a connection, and you'll see a place where you can actually send me a note.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. So what else is going on?
There's a family fun night and some kind of comedy.
Yeah.
Next thing. Oh, that's
a stunt comedy. Not just any comedy. Stunt comedy. That's going to be at Catalyst Church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really more of a family-oriented program, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. They do some great stuff at Catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And then again on August 25th, they get the free ice cream social and outdoor concert. Who's doing this?
It's the Jericho. I listened to them. They're really a great
Yeah.
band. It's called the Jericho Road Crew,
Oh, okay.
and they have like a country flair to them.
Yeah.
And they seem like some great guys. I think it'll be a lot of fun out there. I would love to actually go to that, but you'd have to choose between Angela,
Yeah.
Catalyst,
Yeah.
and I have a wedding that day.
Oh, jeez. Well, and that's why a lot of these different churches are starting to get online.
Yeah,
And sometimes you can go to both events.
yeah,
You know, you don't have to travel.
yeah,
Sometimes you do,
Mhm.
but
yeah.
and then looks like August 25th, we got Simply Worship, keeping it simple.
Yeah, that's a small worship team that gets together up in East Montpelier at Crossroads Christian Church,
Yeah.
and they have a nice little program where you just simply worship.
And then August 30th,
Yep.
looks like we got the schoolhouse
Yeah,
again.
yeah, right here at our church,
Yeah.
which is the Church of the Crucified One, is where we're broadcasting from.
Yeah.
And we have a schoolroom that we converted into a worship
Yeah.
center, and it's right here at the Church of the Crucified One. And we have the Hope Worship Team.
Yeah.
That it's absolutely very blessed evening. We do it every other week right now, and we have that's run by Bill Richardson, who runs
Yeah.
the Hope Worship Team. Last week we had it was Apostle Rick Menard come down.
Yeah.
It was really great.
Right,
You know, he did a
right,
great job,
yeah.
very encouraging. The 2 weeks before that, we had Pastor Gills, Jills from Catalyst Church.
Right.
What a
Yeah.
a love,
Dynamic guy.
dynamic
Yeah.
guy, you know, and what a great testimony he has.
And there's always great music going on at the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
And if you get an opportunity, come one of the evenings that is being done,
Mhm.
because then you'll even get to meet Leo and maybe even myself. And it's well worth the event.
Yeah, and it's one of the events that actually is online as
Yep.
well, so you can watch online.
Yep.
Yeah, we
That's
broadcast
great.
it. So,
Yep.
and it's called Schoolhouse Worship.
Yep.
You know, and you can find it right on My Faith News, so you can find the access to it. Another thing that's happening is at Catalyst, they're actually running because I understand this program is totally full,
Okay.
and so they're now offering it to be streamed online.
Yeah. So this is the Healing Summit.
It's called the Healing Summit,
Yep.
and I think it's going on. It's not here, but it's going on. I forgot exactly which state it was in, but Catalyst has decided to actually live broadcast
Yep.
it in their main sanctuary, so people could come and be a
Yep.
part of it. you
And,
know?
and that's a great way that if you only have a certain amount of capacity internally, you
Mhm.
go online. You can go to these different churches
Mm-hmm.
and that are participating with this. That's a great way to do fellowship.
Yeah. And that's what's going on that's just only this next week.
Right. Right.
And so we decided maybe we would just next week we'll have to get together and start going into September,
Yes.
which is going to be busy.
Yeah.
It's already
We got
packed.
all these events at the end of
Yeah.
August, and the end of August is almost
Yeah.
here.
But there are some
So-
things we should highlight in September. Number one, on
Yep.
September 7th,
Yeah.
in your hometown,
Yes. Yes.
it's going to be the
worship
exchange. You want to
Yeah.
talk about that for a minute?
It's it's pretty incredible event going on. Small town Enosburg, which is a beautiful little town. We're taking over the park, bringing in probably like 6 or 8 different worship groups
Yeah,
that will do
From
both
Africa?
praise. Yeah, all over different
from
places.
New York, Vermont.
Yes,
You know,
I think Uganda, Africa.
Mhm. South America. I think
yeah.
some people are coming from. or
Yeah,
something.
it's pretty incredible
Yeah.
event. The key host there is
Daniel and Akua.
Daniel Nakua,
Yeah.
and then you also have the main what's her name, the singer
Oh, it's going to be culminating to
Yeah.
Marianne George,
Marianne George
from
yes.
who was with Maverick City. From
Yes,
what I
Maverick
understand.
City. There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
Maverick City Music and
and
Yeah.
I hear she's a fantastic personality.
yeah. I mean, and from what I understand, the thing is not really designed to be a concert. It's
Yep.
supposed to be a worship
Yep.
event.
Yep.
So come prepared to worship in the presence of the Lord. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited. And another event that's going to take place in September is going to be Open Wells, which
Yep.
is also it's going to be at Hunger Mountain, and that's produced by the Vermont, New Hampshire Revival Network, which is actually out of Venusburg
Yes.
Falls.
Yes.
And they're going to be
But-
hosting it at the Hunger Mountain,
But Hunger Mountain is actually in
Waterbury Center,
Waterbury.
Vermont. Yeah,
Yep.
Waterbury Center, Vermont.
Yep.
And there you can register for that by just going on to My Faith News. You'll see open wells. Go in, and it brings you right to the areas where you can register.
Yeah.
So
much going on.
and that's going to be Pastor Lyle Willie and his wife Carol.
And you're presenting too?
And he's asked me to come and talk
Yep.
about the biblical understanding of wells,
Yeah.
especially the wells that were redug by Isaac
Yeah.
of his father Abraham. So we're going to do that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm having fun getting ready for it already. So
I mean, those are always interesting stories. How Abraham came through. He dug these wells, and he had to dig multiple because there was competition for those wells.
Yeah.
And then Isaac comes through and has to redig them.
yeah, because they filled them in.
Yes.
But
yes.
we'll learn about that actually.
Yeah.
At
And
that
then
time.
you get into the spiritual connection.
I get into the spiritual connection
Yeah.
of how that works in your own
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and how it. There's a lot of things you could learn through them. So anyway,
Yes.
but we'll
Yeah.
if you want to learn about it, you got to be
Yeah.
there.
Well, one thing I wanted to touch on is in the sermons that are actually posted on the My Faith News.
Yeah.
There was one that I was actually watching last night that it was very well done.
Yeah, the walking on water.
Yes.
Right here, walking on water.
Yep. Faith that defies the storm. Yeah.
Don't we all need faith that defies storms?
Well, I mean, if your life isn't just smooth, crystal lake smooth, then you might need to learn how to walk on water a little bit.
I love that story.
Yeah. You want to give a quick summary of that sermon?
Yeah.
Because it.
Well, that was a sermon that actually I gave
Yep.
at the Church of the Crucified one
Yep.
here in Moortown, Vermont, and it was based on the idea that the first premise of the conversation is if Jesus put them in the storm,
Right.
He sent them on the boat. So
Yes.
in actuality, He allowed them to go into this place, and I don't like that too much because I want everything to go smooth.
Right.
I want roses petals to be in front of me, so I know that God is with me. So when I read that story, there's one question I ask myself, and is what was Jesus teaching Peter that he would ask this question? Jesus, if it's really you, bid me to come and walk upon the water.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, I mean, that's the craziest question in the world, because what dream would you ask that question in?
Yeah.
I remember one time, I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I was in my teen. I was probably in my late teens, and I was on a lake called Lake Moose Maguntic.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's
No.
in Maine. It's up near
Okay.
Rangeley, Maine, and a storm came up. And when that storm came up, I was on a boat. We had this girl on the boat with us, and the storm came up so strong that the mast broke.
Oh wow.
She got hit, got a concussion.
Yep.
We turned over. That's how the mast broke. We actually turned over, and the rudder fell off.
Okay.
So I'm now
Wow.
out there with the mast broken and no rudder. I couldn't control the boat, and it was daylight. Can you imagine?
Isn't this like so much of our own lives where
Yeah.
you go out there to have a good time, then all of a sudden
Just
everything is upside down,
Yeah.
and you lose control.
lose total control. So anyway, the bottom line is, I know what that's like
Yeah.
to be in a storm, and
Yeah.
if I saw Jesus walking on
Yeah.
water, and if I thought he was a ghost, I can tell you the last thing that I would do is get out of that boat and start walking on water. I was terrified being in the boat, let alone, and that's where it says it was a storm. And so there's a lesson, I think, to really be learned there.
Right.
And that's
Right.
really the premise of that particular teaching I gave.
And that's where I look at it and I say, how do we get there?
Yeah.
How
do you get to that place in your life where you can walk on water?
Well, know where you want to ask.
Or you even ask.
Should I get out of this boat and go walk with you, Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my thinking is that Jesus had said that the thing that pleases God the most is faith.
Right.
And so
if
you look at the stories in the Bible, you'll find out that Jesus allowed them to get into all kinds of situations in
Right.
their lives
Right.
that tested their faith.
Mhm.
I mean, they're with what, 5,000 besides women and children,
Right. Yeah.
and he says, "You feed the people." Well, okay,
With
Jesus,
what?
with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, what
Okay.
we could
e-
have 200
Each
days
of
wages.
you, do you have your sewing pin
Yeah.
out because you got to take a little piece of fish?
Yeah.
Don't know that it's going to be very
Yeah.
fulfilling, but
So
it was. But it was
it was not only
in that
that-
story.
Yeah.
They didn't only eat their fill;
Yeah.
they had excess.
They had 12 baskets full left. 12 baskets full.
baskets.
Yeah. So
That's
why would
abundance.
so in our lives, I really
Yeah.
believe that God is bringing us to that place where
Right.
He's teaching us to get out of the boat.
Yes.
So getting out of the boat is getting into a place that's really seemingly uncomfortable.
Right.
He's
Right.
allowing it. So if we want to mature in life, we
Yeah.
need to be stretched.
Yes.
And I can guarantee you, not only was he stretching Peter, but he was stretching the guys in the boat because they were looking at Peter going, because Peter walked on water.
Right.
Think about that. I
Yeah.
mean, I know he sunk.
Right.
I know that
not,
the
not
Lord-
right away.
not right away, but
I
he
mean,
did.
He got out there.
He got out there.
Put himself out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Are you willing to
I
do
mean,
that?
I'm working to do that.
You're working to do
I'm
that.
working to that. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Is
Now-
is I see that as we mature in Christ,
Yeah.
Jesus commanded that we should be able to do
Yeah.
as he did and more.
Yeah. So one of the things you see in that story that
Yeah.
is really he didn't think about it until his eyes got on the storm, and that's when he
Right.
began to sink.
Right.
But as long as his eyes was on the Lord,
Yep.
and he was able to walk on water. And I think that when we start reasoning it out,
Right.
I believe that you can do all things through
Yes.
Christ who strengthens you.
Right.
That means you already have the capacity to walk on water.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's physically in a storm or maybe in situations in your life where you got to learn to follow Christ through the storm.
Right. Right.
You know, you have the capacity. The problem that comes in is that you start reasoning it out
Yeah.
because, by the way, it's impossible to walk on water according to
It's
the
impossible.
laws of nature.
and
also your
I
brain.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that.
So-
However,
So
there's a way.
there's a way, and the way
There's a way.
is to drop the stinking thinking,
Yeah.
maybe,
Right.
and
right.
start to walk by faith. Because it says, let's say you're talking about prayer.
Yeah.
He says, when you pray, believe that you've already received it and
Yes.
it is yours. So whenever I pray believing that I might get it,
Yeah. Right.
which is not correct.
Yeah.
It means I don't got it.
Because then you're working in the rear, which
That's right. So
which is not
to pray
faith.
believing that I've already
Yeah.
received it. One of my favorite prayers that Jesus prays in the Bible is when he goes to the tomb of Lazarus.
Right.
And what does
Yes.
he say to Lazarus? He says to Lazarus, who's dead.
Right.
He says, and then he comes to the tomb. He's got Mary and Martha standing there, and he says, this is how I'm going to pray for the people,
Yeah.
which means that he's exposing what he does inside.
Right.
Exposing what he does inside. He says, Father, I thank you that you heard me. I thank you that you always hear me. And then he turns to death,
Yeah.
and he says to death,
Release.
Lazarus,
Yeah.
arise.
Right.
And he's still wrapped in grave clothes, but
Yeah.
he's alive. I mean, can you do that in your life? I believe yes.
Yeah.
You have to come to that place. That's a place of maturity where you
Mhm.
realize spiritually where you're at.
Yep.
So, but if you do it with an assumption that you can do it and without knowing it. So
Mhm.
in order for that to really take place, you have to be able to see Lazarus already alive.
Right.
In order for you to walk on water, you have to have seen yourself already walking on water because you
And
can.
we see this.
Yeah.
We see this in like sports training
Mhm.
where they talk about the Olympian or
Yeah.
the whoever where they're practicing for an event
Yeah.
and they absolutely concentrate and envision themselves
Yeah.
winning the event,
Mhm.
doing the jump, doing the exercise, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they even talk about like physical therapy, where you envision your body doing these exercises.
You know what's funny about that?
Yeah.
Is that your body doesn't know the difference between physical exercise and mental exercise. Did you know
Right.
that?
That makes
doesn't
sense.
know the difference.
Yeah.
So I used to actually ski.
Yeah.
And I was in when they would bring us into training, they would
Mhm.
actually let us watch films.
Yes. Yes.
And we would actually get into the film so much that it would actually become a part of you.
Right.
And we were putting our edges into the snow.
Yep.
You were feeling what that would feel like. And then when you got to the hill, you could do it.
Right.
Your
Yeah.
body automatically went into that because it believed
We'd
that
already
it
done
had
it.
the ability
Yeah.
to do it. You know, not that you were fearful.
Right.
I mean, I think it's used in a lot of other industries
is.
as well.
So you kind of see that the whole premise of faith.
Hmm.
You envision what it is.
Hmm. Which is what Paul says, that we should walk by faith, not by sight.
Right.
And what he's meaning there is that you're not supposed to walk with your natural eyes,
Yep.
but you're supposed to start to see with your spiritual eyes, with your eyes of faith. And faith, the biblical definition of faith, is believing those things that are not as if they were.
Are. Yes.
In order to do that, you have to use your eyesight. You have to use
Right.
your spiritual eyesight.
Right.
Can I see myself with the answer to the prayer,
Yes.
or walking on the water, or going through those situations? I don't know if we all need to walk on water, but I can guarantee you there's situations in people's lives where you need to learn how to walk on the storms
Right.
of your
and,
life.
And that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
When things of the world have overtaken you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, one of the things that has helped me in understanding that is that, you know, a lot of times you'll go into some Christian groups.
Yep.
And I'm pushing the envelope here. I'm probably going to make somebody crazy.
Well,
But is that they start binding and loosening, and
Yep.
they start yelling
Yep.
at the situation.
Yep.
And then nothing changes the whole week, even though they
Right.
might even say it does.
right.
And
Right.
the reason why that's a problem is because your internal, deep down inside, you don't believe it.
Hmm.
A real declaration is that not only can you say it with your lips,
Right.
but you know it in your heart
Yes.
as already
Yes.
completed work. That means that you don't really probably have to scream and yell.
Now, would you not say
You're-
to a young Christian, a baby Christian, there are some practical tools that they could use to get to that maturity
I'm
level?
going to show you one that God gave to our father in faith.
Yes.
And our father in faith, he had to have a tool.
Yeah.
In order for him to be able to see. So God brings Abraham out into a starry night.
Yes.
And so he used the starry night
Hmm.
to demonstrate how vast his inheritance will be.
Right.
And even though he was 75 years old, seemingly impossible, as much I will have an inheritance as much as the stars of the sky. So
Right.
in order for that to work, what happened was that Abraham had to engage his imagination
Yes.
and to say, oh, so it's as much as the stars of the sky
Mhm.
or the sands of the sea. And so a lot of times we need physical things that represent that,
Yep.
you know, in order to be able to hold on. So one way would be to use those physical things
Mhm.
that represent something, and that helps you to get to the next,
Mhm.
I guess you'd say, level or
Yeah.
whatever it is too.
I love saying next level. 'Cause
Yeah.
To me, that's while you've accomplished this grade, this
Yeah.
level, now you go to the next one.
Yeah, and you'll see
And-
that throughout Scripture. You'll
Yep.
see God uses these examples. Jesus tells farm stories,
Yep.
and,
Right,
and the
agriculture,
kingdom
yeah.
of heaven is like this. And the only reason he did that was because he was in an agrarian society,
Right. Right.
and so it was a way of being able to talk to them.
Yep.
You know, and he said, if you get it, you're going to be healed. But
Right.
hearing they hear not, seeing they do not see.
Now, going through different types of professional training, a lot of times they would coach you to fake it before you make it.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
there
The only
connection here.
I think there's a connection there,
Yeah.
but I said the only thing that I would say is the problem with that is if you know that,
right? Yeah.
because you believe, you only do in your life what you actually believe.
Right.
If you're really honest with yourself,
Yeah.
you might say, well, I believe in this and I
Yeah.
believe in that, but if your actions don't correlate with
Yep.
what you believe,
Yep.
then you probably don't believe it.
Right.
So you're fooling yourself.
Yeah.
And guess
Yeah.
what knows that really well? Your inside.
The reality.
Who you really are inside says,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But even though you might be, oh, Phil, I know you can walk on water. God bless
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And
We'll
then
get there.
really,
We
but
will
I'm
get
thinking,
there. We
but what
will
I'm
get there.
thinking is the same thing that I'm doubting it already. So knowing yourself really internally is really important. Faking it till you make it might work for some
Yeah.
people, but There's a story. I don't know how much more time we have,
Yeah.
but be careful
I
here.
think probably another 5 minutes or
Okay.
so, but
And
a few minutes
one of the
anyway.
things that you'll see there's a really great story in the Bible
Yeah.
about Jacob and Esau.
Okay.
And in order for Jacob to receive the blessing,
Yep.
he had to fake it.
Yes. Yeah.
And so Mr. Deceiver himself, the
Right.
heel catcher,
Yeah.
he had to fake. His mom said, "Son, we're gonna dress you up and make you
Yep.
smell and smell." Because remember, Isaac was blind.
Yep. Yep.
He said
Look
it,
and smell.
and he goes to his dad and he says, "Well, it feels
and
like
feel.
Esau.
Yep.
It smells like Esau, but the voice is Jacob's."
Yeah.
He says, "No, father," and he lies to his own dad.
Yes.
And he receives the blessing from him.
Yes.
And so he faked it
yes.
until he
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah.
Of course, when his brother came home and found out, because once you receive it,
Right.
the secret to that is that once you receive it, once you got the blessing,
Yes.
guess what?
It is. You
It's-
are blessed.
You are blessed.
Yes.
However you got it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's a great teaching to go into
Yes.
that, because it actually teaches you how to operate spiritually
Mhm.
in your life, because you have to, because remember, Isaac's preference was to Esau, his
Mhm.
brother,
Yeah.
which was his favorite. I mean,
Yep.
that's really hard. But Rebecca remembered the prophetic,
Right.
and she followed the prophetic, and that the younger would rule the elder.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know. Anyway, there's a lot to that, but
and I think that I
so these
like
are the
where we're
little
headed
ways.
with this,
Yeah.
and I think we're going to keep going down this path
Okay.
because I see a lot of fruit to there. I see we could look at King David and his
Yeah.
life,
Oh yeah.
and there's lots of times where he was called to be the king,
Yeah.
but it didn't look like he was going to get there.
No, he was a ruddy little
And-
kid.
Yeah, I mean, in so many aspects. I mean, the current king wants to kill him. I mean,
And he was trained in the field
yeah,
with the lions and the tigers.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, when he volunteered to even go fight Goliath, he
Right.
couldn't even fit in the darn armor.
yes,
But what's the secret to that story? The secret to the story is that he goes out. I've actually been to the spot where
Yeah.
they say the traditional place.
Right.
Of course,
yeah,
I would get a kick out of that. That doesn't mean they know where it is. But I actually I can't find them anymore, but I picked up 5 smooth stones.
Oh, did you
But if you read the story,
for your sling?
I had my sling.
For whatever life throws at you,
I
you're
had
ready.
my 5
You're
smooth
ready.
stones, and I was ready. Maybe someday
gonna
I'll find
slay
them.
that.
My wife must have hit them
I'm going to
somewhere.
slay that giant.
So anyway, it says that there was 5 smooth stones.
Yeah.
But they turned into 1 stone,
Okay.
and 5 represents the spirit,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so he took, but the 5 in that time they had only the Torah, which is
Right.
the 5 original books of the Bible.
Yeah.
So in order for you to be able to slay the giants in your life, you had to be able to pull from the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
And pulling from the Spirit, he got a bullseye
Yeah.
in his life.
That's
I think we
incredible.
all need to learn that lesson.
I-
I'm really giving
No,
a short version
Yeah.
of it.
No,
but-
and that's
you know.
it's just some of where
so
we're going.
a lot of people are
We
looking
like
for
this.
techniques, but the
Yeah.
only technique is are you in the Spirit?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
are you able to operate spiritually? That means that you're operating in a place where you are no longer trying to figure it out, but
Yeah.
you realize that you are a joint heir, that
Right.
you already have it. Once you
It's
realize
already
that,
there.
then
Yep.
those things come easier to you. But that's a lifetime, because
Yep. I see it just like anything else.
it takes time to realize who you are.
I think what our target will be is to kind of go through some of these steps
Yeah.
and flesh them
Mhm.
out
Yeah.
and we hope that you continue
Yeah.
with our journey.
That's it. If you have a question, or
Yeah.
you maybe don't agree with something,
Yeah.
we want to hear from you,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to go to My Faith News. Just go to the editor and just send us a message. Okay. So
All right. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for joining us.
yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We really enjoy having you. We're seeing that we can start doing this more and more.
Yes.
And get this out. And also remember to go to myfaithnews.org and find out what's going on in the state of Vermont. God bless you all.
God bless you.
Your light shine through, illuminate the darkness. Flashes of grace around.